He comes and goes on a rainbow. It is Friday. He's my new best friend. He's Michael Snyder. And he has a slew of movies to review. And let me say, Michael Snyder, good afternoon. And I did get to see Predator Badlands. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm halfway through Frankenstein on Netflix, really enjoying that. So I think we're kindred spirits. What you see is what I see.
I tend to agree, Mo. But before we get into any of that, I want to publicly reveal that we are changing the name of my review segment from Michael Snyder's Culture Blast to the Department of Unquestionably Correct Opinions. And to that end, we're putting up a new bronze plaque in the studio. As soon as we can find the right screws and a Phillips screwdriver, I think it's going to be a done deal. And by the way, I think it's time to find out the truth of Mark's absence from the show these past 2 weeks. So I have instructed Engineer General Tony Sorrentino to begin an investigation into whether Mark was in Colombia for a wedding or actually at Mar-a-Lago for Donald Trump's annual festival of fast food. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
You know, Mark is not going to appreciate you positing that he might have been at Mar-a-Lago. You know that, right?
Hey, it's just an investigation, Mo. I'm not saying one thing or the other. You know what? All kidding aside, before we get to the movies and TV shows, like so many of us connected to the Mark Thompson show, I was saddened to receive word that the Protean investigative reporter Jim Avila had passed away. It was an honor and a little intimidating to follow his always articulate and thoughtful segments with and without Michael Schur on Fridays. And as I noted on social media, I had the good fortune to meet Jim in person. And what you got on the air is what you got one-on-one. He was a smart, honest, humble, kind person. He was one of the good guys, and we're going to miss him and his insights, and we'll continue to miss him for the foreseeable future.
Well said, my friend. Well said.
All right. After last weekend's surprisingly large selection of worthwhile new movie offerings, and I remarked on it at the time, we're back to some mediocrity on the cinema scene. Shall we get down to it, sir?
Look, I assumed you were going in that direction. Thank you for confirming that. Please proceed.
Well, whether it's due to the rise in prevalence of envelope-pushing reality TV programming since the 1982 Stephen King sci-fi novel and the 1987 movie it spawned were released, or whether it's the American dystopia that seems to now be a governmental whim away, the remake of The Running Man that hits theaters this weekend struck me as a little tired or played out. I mean, even the devilishly clever filmmaker Edgar Wright, this is the guy who did Last Night in Soho, Shaun of the Dead, Baby Driver, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I love this guy's work. Even though this is the guy who directed and co-scripted this update, he can't stop the kind of creative inertia that belies what is often a frantic pace, nor can the hero, being played by square-jawed leading man du jour Glenn Powell, who has a flair for comedy, elevate this in the part that Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of devoured on the big screen in 1987. The basics are the same. A desperate man who needs money in a haves, have-nots society of the near future risks his life in a widely broadcasted, high-rated, winner-takes-all TV competition show where you need to survive assassins for 30 days to win the massive cash prize, or you die. Anyway, I like this a lot more when it was called The Long Walk. And, interestingly, another Stephen King adaptation. I know The Long Walk was a bit different insofar as it wasn't a kind of a grandiose, guns-blazing action movie like this. But after the original Running Man and the similarly themed Battle Royale and the Hunger Games, Wright's take didn't give me something new. And for all its attempts to be satirical, funny like the original movie, it's surprisingly short on laughs, especially when you consider how funny Shaun of the Dead and Scott Pilgrim were. So it's kind of promising at first. It's entertaining in sporadic bursts, and ultimately it coasts on the every guy charisma of Powell and the skill of the supporting players led by Josh Brolin as the producer of the Running Man show, Coleman Domingo in the Richard Dawson MC role, that was the case in the first movie, Lee Pace as a villain, Katie O'Brien. William H. Macy is woefully underused, and Michael Cera is just plain annoying in the role he plays here. To be honest, I did kind of enjoy Saturday Night Live cast member Ben Marshall, a new addition to the cast at SNL, as a kind of a hapless and clueless contestant on The Running Man. But that was kind of early on in the movie. Maybe the major culprit, other than that sense of been there, seen that, was the script, which seemed to me sloppy and dashed off. But whatever. This Running Man is too late to the finish line. Let's just say I wouldn't run to see The Running Man. All right, wait. My final words on The Running Man 2025. The classic Snyder shrug, not terrible. The Running Man is in theaters. I mean, are you disappointed?
I think you're.
Let me put it this way. I never thought that Glenn Powell was truly a leading man. He doesn't fill up the screen in the way that Arnold Schwarzenegger does. I don't know if he is a bona fide star in his own right. I think he's likable, but I don't think he is a superstar who can hold a movie by himself. He needs that ensemble cast, and I don't know if you should ever remake classics or cult classics. The Running Man would be the latter, and I've yet to see a remake of a cult classic do well, so your review resonates with me greatly.
And I got to say, with things like Survivor and worse, on television, it seems to undercut what was kind of startling about the original and about Stephen King's book, don't you think? I mean,
oh, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head when we've been kind of anesthetized or numb to the idea of this dystopian world because we're living through it.
Right.
So a movie about it is not going to be all that awe-inspiring.
True. Well, let's move on. And we actually have a continuation of a franchise here. The third installment in the Now You See Me heist movie franchise is, as one would hope, disposable fun. These movies, which started up in 2013 with what is still the best of them, Now You See Me, are amusing thrill rides of varying quality, and usually they're a diverting watch. And the premise is kind of durable. A band of wily magicians known as the Four Horsemen rip off bad guys and try to outmagic one another. So Now You See Me, Now You Don't is the first since the 2016 sequel, but we get the familiar star-studded ensemble to hopefully dazzle us. This time, the story features the characters played by Jesse Eisenberg. He's kind of a stick in the mud. Woody Harrelson, a kind of hilarious hypnotist. Isla Fisher, a bit of an escape artist. Dave Franco, a sleight of hand guy. And as the fifth horseman or horsewoman, Lizzie Kaplan. And they're reluctantly reuniting after 10 years apart to take on an easy-to-hate villain, a corrupt, super wealthy diamond broker played by Rosamund Pike. So the familiar cast is bolstered by some rising talent, Justice Smith, Dominic Sessa, and Ariana Greenblatt, as a new generation of world-class prestidigitators. Plus, there are one or two unexpected returning faces who shall remain nameless to avoid spoiling any surprises. Yes, it is convoluted and implausible and silly, but that's kind of what you sign up for when you see one of these movies. Now You See Me, Now You Don't is directed by Ruben Fleischer. He does this duty for the first time. And he manages to keep all of the on-screen misdirection happening in lively fashion. Like a magic trick, Now You See Me, Now You Don't gets your attention, then seems to disappear as soon as you finish watching it. But I found it more enjoyable than the Running Man remake. Now You See Me, Now You Don't is in theaters. Had you seen the earlier films, Mo?
Yes, I just rewatched the first two last week in preparation for this. I really like this this movie series, and you said there are going to be some cameos or appearances of other actors. I was going to ask you, since you didn't mention his name, so if you don't want to answer, that's fine. I know that Mark Ruffalo was in the first two. I know that Morgan Freeman was in the first two, but you conspicuously omitted both of them in your review. That gives me cause for concern.
Mo, I cannot really say with any certainty that either of these people is in this movie, nor are there penguins involved. Anyway. So let's move on. He's played numerous loonies and weirdos and lost souls with passion, humor, flair. But does the wild and bold Nicolas Cage have a messiah complex? Maybe, but in the bizarre and uneasy mix of New Testament lore and horror, The Carpenter's Son, Cage actually plays the Messiah's stepfather, Joseph. So after that Bethlehem manger situation, Cage's Joseph wanders the desert with wife Mary, played amazingly by UK pop singer FKA Twigs. And amazingly, not like what a performance, but wow, FKA Twigs is playing Mary. And son Jesus is there. They are outcasts despite or because of the boy's heavenly lineage. In short order, Joseph, and we'll call him Teenage Jesus, played by the talented young British actor Noah Jupe, are beset by demonic figures, the spawn of Satan or the devil himself, tempting them to forego their fealty to God. So add the push-pull between Joseph and Jesus, and you've got daddy issues galore. I know it sounds like it might be a glorious train wreck, like some of Cage's craziest films, but no such luck. It's all shot in the murkiest of cinematography on location in Greece, which has never looked less sunny, by the way. And the dialogue is rife with overwrought biblical pronouncements, which are kind of fitfully entertaining when shouted by Cage at some horned creature that's attempting to drag him and Jesus to hell. You know, as horror movies go, The Carpenter's Son is a tedious one. It's written and directed by Lofty Nathan, whose name is unfamiliar to me. You know, I would have preferred John Carpenter's Son, or maybe the Gospel according to Sam Raimi. The overall vibe is more like the Necronomicon, the fictional Book of the Dead in Raimi's Evil Dead franchise, than the Bible. And that said, it is nowhere near as exciting, goofy, and genuinely scary as seeing Bruce Campbell going bonkers with a chainsaw in those Raimi films. As for seeing teenage Jesus deal with his tormentors, I couldn't help but be reminded of Teenage Jesus and the Jerks, singer and poet Lydia Lunch's New York-based art punk band from the 80s, whose churning, chaotic music might have broken up the dolorous nature of The Carpenter's Son, which is in select theaters if you choose to select them.
That hurts my heart because I'm a huge Nicolas Cage fan, and it's been decades since he's had a decent movie.
Oh, no. Mo, if you haven't seen Pig, you're really missing out.
No. I saw Pig, and I couldn't finish Pig, how bad it was.
Oh, my God, I love Pig. Anyway, different strokes. I know we follow different sports teams. We'll agree to disagree. Anyway, let's move on. You've heard of or seen the Muppet Babies in the crime business as usual Feds versus Cartels movie Trap House. You can meet the DEA teens. At least that's what transpires when Cole, the son of Dave Bautista's tough but loving single father government agent character Ray Seal, decides to organize his fellow offspring of the El Paso, Texas DEA team to rip off a cartel trap house where the drug smuggler's ill-gotten loot is left for pickup. So Cole has charitable intentions. He wants to use the cash to help out unfortunate victims of the border drug war, but that puts him and the other teens in the crosshairs of the cartel and Ray's DEA unit. This whole thing is a bit of a stretch, as is the presence of the great film, TV, and stage actor Bobby Cannavale, most recently in Blue Moon and the last season of Only Murders in the Building. Here he plays Bautista's best buddy in the DEA. I guess, Bobby got to eat. The job comes along and you take it. The kid actors are all right, starting with Jack Champion as Cole, but you also get Sophia Lillis, Inda Navarrete, and Blue Del Barrio, who have all done interesting work on TV and in film. It's directed by someone named Michael Dowse, produced of all people by Ridley Scott, among others, including Bautista.
What?
this is so incredibly, it's gone as soon as you watch it. I mean, I think that now you see it. Now you see me. Now you don't linger it a little more than this. I will say this: I didn't hate Trap House, but again, that's just a cut below, not terrible. Anyway, Trap House is in select theaters. Let's see if we can get to something a little more worthwhile. And yes, Sirat. Sirat depicts a stunning, wrenching odyssey through the wasteland of southern Morocco by a father named Luis and his son Esteban as they search for Esteban's sister, who has been missing since she attended a rave in North Africa a number of months back. As such, since they're there, Luis and Esteban hook up with a bunch of ravers who are on their way to yet another big desert dance party. And it's kind of interesting. Real ravers play the road trippers that Luis and Esteban follow on their way to the next festival. But it's happening as the world descends into chaos around them. They get the occasional news report that kind of global war is breaking out. So the sense of madness and dislocation that the movie conjures is totally enhanced by a blasting soundtrack of frenzied techno music, or if you prefer EDM, that kind of shakes the desert sands. Sirat is kind of relentless and occasionally explosive, and I felt myself kind of inadvertently leap in my seat a couple times. It is directed and co-written by Oliver Lax, and won the jury prize at the 2025 Cannes Film Festival, and also is Spain's official submission for Best International Feature Film at the upcoming 98th Academy Awards. Sirat is brutal and powerful. It's going to rattle a few people, but I do think it's a pretty great film. It is in select theaters. And, let's wrap things up with something for the whole family, because I kind of like to do that. Arco is the latest wondrous French animated feature in a string of beautiful projects that includes, from France, that includes the sci-fi noir Mars Express, the biographical Little Amelie, which I talked about last week, and the TV shows Arcane and Scavenger's Reign. The French animation industry is on a serious roll. Like Little Amelie, Arco, which was directed and co-written by Hugo Bienvenu, is made in a design style that evokes the anime glory of venerated Japanese filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli, the people that brought you wonderful movies in the past, just things that people adore, like My Neighbor Totoro. And, I won't even get into a list of them, but Miyazaki is a master. But Arco has a very singular tone and a fantastical story to tell about a boy named Arco who comes from a distant future and arrives in the year 2075, is stuck there, and with the help of a girl named Iris that he meets there, and then tries to somehow return to his time and family. The movie is enhanced by a beautiful color palette, which is reinforced by the conceit that Arco comes and goes through time on a rainbow. I was thinking of suing the filmmakers for that rainbow appropriation, but I was so charmed by the visual confection that is Arco that I'll let it slide. Arco is in select theaters. It's going to be a good thing to watch over the holidays. And if it gets to video in time, the whole family can gather around and enjoy it. Arco.
Michael, let's quickly review. You said The Running Man was too late to the finish line. I am always going to be partial to the original. I'm not a fan of remaking classics or cult classics. The Running Man, Richard Dawson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, cult classic. Love that version and iteration. But I'll watch Glenn Powell's. I won't have as high of expectations. Now You See Me, Now You Don't. The third in that trilogy. I love the Now You See Me franchise. I hope I will love the third one as well. But you said huge cast, but it seems to disappear along the way. So I will see if my expectations meet your reality.
No, let me amend that. No, it disappears after you've watched it. It's very much of the moment. It's very enjoyable while you watch it. Don't misconstrue.
So it's disposable. You won't waste your time, but you won't think much about it afterward.
Yeah, I thought much in the same manner that a movie like The Running Man remake is disposable. So is this, but I found this to be more enjoyable to watch and more fresh and entertaining, even though, again, we've been here 2 other times.
You didn't have a lot positive to say about The Carpenter's Son, starring Nicolas Cage, among others. I would dub Nicolas Cage now as the king of the B movie. You said The Carpenter's Son had bad photography. It was a drab and at times tedious.
Yeah, it's the muddiest of visual presentations, and I just it was silly, but not in a enjoyable way.
Trap House, starring among other people, what's his name? Dave Bautista. He's paired with Children of the DEA. It's a heist film. A huge stretch, is completely forgettable. You said it's available in select theaters. It sounds like it should have gone straight to video.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, sort of, but not as much fun as Now You See Me.
Surat, big desert dance party as the world implodes. That just gets me right there. I'm curious because I like world-ending movies. You said it had a blasting soundtrack, but it's worth a watch ultimately, and I think I'm going to make time for it.
Yes, but I want to keep you aware of the fact that all of what's going on in the rest of the world is removed. It's not on screen. We only have hints of it. What we do have is this brutal odyssey through the desert, and it was very powerful for me.
Sounds good. And you closed out with Arco, the French animated feature, singular in tone, talking about this young boy stuck in time, with the exception of when he's moving through time, flying on a rainbow. Very reminiscent of one Michael Snyder I happen to know.
Yeah. As we wrap up, I do want to throw out one TV recommendation. And if you haven't seen this yet, Mr. Mo Kelly, you have to. Pluribus, currently running on Apple TV, is one of the coolest and most unique science fiction projects in memory. It comes from the mind of writer, creator, and showrunner Vince Gilligan, who first came to prominence as a writer and director on The X-Files, went on to create and write Breaking Bad and its spin-off series Better Call Saul. Pluribus feels like this leap forward into another realm for Gilligan. On what seems like a random day in the near future, the people of the world are suddenly united in an unexpected and morally ambiguous way, except for a very few folks. And one of the unaffected is Carol, an author of romance novels who was then forced to confront the consequences of this massive global change. Carol is played by Rhea Seehorn, who was a lawyer and Saul's love interest on Better Call Saul. She is amazing in the demanding role of Carol. It's 3 episodes into a 9-episode run that is already assured a second season, and I have no idea where Pluribus is headed, but I am definitely along for the ride. Again, it's on Apple TV.
Would I be wrong to say that Apple TV, pound for pound, has the best television programming, the best series?
What?
It has come to that point, I think. I mean, I can't get into depth on it, but Down Cemetery Road, which is based on a Mick Herron novel, the guy who created Slow Horses, that's running now. It's streaming now. Oh my God, it's so good. Obviously Ted Lasso. There are so many wonderful shows that are now available on Apple TV. I would tend to agree. Speaking of wonderful shows, just one more quick note as we head out. I'm in Los Angeles. It's kind of rainy, but tonight I'm going to try to go to Mark Mothersbaugh's Mutt Muzz Gallery. Mark Mothersbaugh, one of the leading lights in Devo. He has a very cool gallery in Chinatown. And opening tonight is a show called Beautiful Mutants. And my friend Todd Westover has a painting in the show, as do a couple other people I know. If you're interested in reading me, I'm at thevoicesf.org. And yes, sir, I am a proud contributor to the Mark Thompson Show and should be back here next Friday with Mark Thompson.
And you left out the best part, how you come and go on a rainbow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Mo, it's been a pleasure. See you soon.